10864. Station's your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
Oregon is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Ducks football.
We got to elevate and make our teaching standards elite.
Got him deep. He's open. He's got it. He's gone. It is picked up. Intercepted. Oregon with the ball.
There can't be any type of fading. It doesn't work that way.
20, 50. He's going to score. 10. Touchdown, Oregon.
We invested a lot of time in that, and we expect that to pay off in a big-time way.
Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
This is the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. Now, let's talk Oregon Ducks football. Alongside Mike Jorgensen and Joey Mac, here's the voice of the Ducks, Jerry Allen.
Hey, all right. Back for it now. Come on now. Thank you very much. Be here till midnight. Welcome to the show. I will be. Start of the show. You know.
Oh,
that's the way it
I
works.
understand.
You guys will be
That's the
until
way
3 in the
works.
morning now. So
After party.
After party.
Got
There
it.
you go.
I
I'm
got
liking
you.
this
Okay.
even better now.
All right. Good.
6-1, 3-1 in the conference. Oregon with a victory over UCLA, guys. It was a gut wrencher, and Oregon's been through some of those this year. And I'm just wondering, Jorgie and Joey, is there maybe a little bit of an advantage to say they know how to play tough when it gets down to the end?
I mean, you wish they didn't, right? And yet at the same and yet at the same time, you're happy they do, because you get into those type games. This team knows how to play in them, and you'd rather not be in them. You'd rather be able to take a deep breath in the fourth quarter. But it happened the way it happened, and again, they did a great job. Went on a 34-3 scoring spree, and were able to get that cushion to be able to hold off UCLA.
Yeah, I mean, 4 wins decided by 1 possession, so they're battle-tested. We know that, but, well, I think my blood pressure is still higher than it should be. Jerry said it best after DJ James made the interception. It was like, I'm just going to go take a nap. I think that the entire fan base felt that way, right? So, but look, I actually do think that there is some benefit to that, guys, because Coach Cristobal talks all the time about how this team needs to play every rep like it's a fourth quarter rep. Well, this past week it was kind of flipped, right? Like the third quarter was great. Defense allows 7 total yards to a really good UCLA offense, and it felt like the Ducks kind of figured that out. They played a more consistent game. They played a better middle 8, as they say, last 4 of the first half, first 4 of the second half, and I felt like Oregon had turned that corner, but then their backs weren't against the wall in the fourth quarter. It got a little closer than maybe comfort would like. But so overall, I think, guys, the exciting thing is that Oregon is still searching for that complete game, right? We have yet to see them play that complete game, and they're close, though. They're close to it, and I think that's what's exciting. And I think that the potential is still there for some growth.
Yeah, and the coaches will never, admit to it, talk about it, accept it. But very honestly, when you have the number of injuries and the different players coming in and out of offensive lines and running backs and all over the field, it can't help but affect the chemistry and the rhythm of a football team.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, those have an impact on a game, and momentum is a funny thing too. When all of a sudden you think you've got it, and it takes one play to reverse it, But, boy, wasn't it fun watching KT play a complete game and what he can do and the havoc that he can wreak and what pressure on a quarterback does, even though DTR made some fantastic plays even under pressure, but he couldn't last the entire game. Wasn't that fun, Joey?
Oh, man. First of all, DTR, shout out to that guy.
Yes,
he got clocked a few times.
I was impressed with his guts.
Toughness.
Yeah.
But, man, what a difference Kayvon Thibodeau makes. I mean, Jorgie always looks at the camera and, gets really excited. And you have to run the ball. Well, you have to rush the passer if you're the defense.
There you go.
And you know what? That's exactly what Kayvon Thibodeau does. And I was so impressed with the way that at times he just kind of took over that game. We've seen him do it now a couple times. And, what a difference it makes. I mean, basically every award that you can win from a national perspective for Player of the Week, and he was the Pac-12 Defensive Lineman and Defensive Player of the Week, by the way. KT won those awards this week. I mean, that's how good he was. Career highs in tackles for loss. He's a difference maker. And now I'm excited to see after because Coach Cristobal kind of warned us. Well, not warned. I guess he got excited with us about that, right? That he thought that this was the game where he had finally kind of shaken off all the rust. We saw what happens. Now what happens when it's round 2 where he's shaking off all that rust?
Well, and how much better he makes everybody else, too.
Oh,
that was the thing about it, is watching Dorless and everybody, the linebackers, Sewell, and everybody benefit from that guy being on the field. And he can't do it himself, mind you, okay? Yeah. He's not a one-man show out there, but it's amazing when he's on the field what he does for the rest of the team.
We're talking about that coming up in a moment. Brandon Dorless and Popo both talked about that this week. That's just one of many topics we'll cover later on after Coach McClendon.
And the biggest fan base for KT is his secondary.
No doubt about that.
Right? Yeah, I mean, he's putting pressure on the quarterback. Quarterback's making throws maybe he should or shouldn't. Interception late, and that's a big reason why. So, I mean, it's fun to watch those guys. Noah had a great game, too. Pac-12 Freshman of the Week as well. Just awards are being handed out all over the place. Well, I think our special guest is here tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Are we ready? All right, I heard that door. Bryan McClendon, pass game coordinator, wide receivers coach, going to be our guest. He's got quite a history of playing football and coaching football. We're going to talk with him when we come back. We're on the Oregon Sports Network. We're in our Country Financial Studios here from Learfield.
Ready to get back in the game? Great news. The movement experts at Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists can help you find relief and results and keep you off the sidelines. With 15 convenient locations across Portland, contact Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists today at proactivepts.com to see a physical therapist. Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists, a proud partner of Oregon Athletics and trusted choice for keeping Duck fans in the game.
Harley Quinn and a collection of cons are on a search and destroy mission in the Suicide Squad. Now available at Redbox. Intelligence Officer Amanda Waller enlists the most dangerous imprisoned supervillains in the world to carry out a dangerous task in exchange for lighter sentences. Bloodsport, Peacemaker, King Shark, Harley Quinn, and others trek through the dangerous jungle to help save the world from the apocalypse. One wrong move and they're dead. Whether at the hands of their opponents, a teammate, or Waller herself. Watch the Suicide Squad and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
This week's episode of the Mighty Oregon Podcast, presented by Oregon Community Credit Union, features former Oregon basketball standout Jim Barnett.
13 Hall of Famers who were teammates of mine.
From playing with some of the all-time greats to having an up-close view of the revolution of the game.
Time for another edition of Basketball 101. Privileged again to have Steph Curry help us today.
The episode is available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Elevate the standard. This is Ducks football from Learfield.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to our Coaches Show. I'm Jerry Allen along with Mike Jorgensen. Call him Jorgie. It's our Pepsi Coaches Spotlight, and right now I'm excited a little bit. I feel like I want to get this guy's autograph because he's got some football history. Bryan McClendon, pass game coordinator, wide receivers coach, our guest here tonight. Coach, I know how busy you guys are. I mean, we've been around long enough to know that you spend every waking hour or minute working on a football game coming up. So, but thanks for taking some time here tonight. First thing I always want to know about you is your family. Talk about your family.
Well,
Been married for 15 years. Have a great wife. We went to middle school and high school together.
Oh, my.
Yeah, how about that? And I went and I played my college ball at the University of Georgia, and she went to Clark in Atlanta. And we really started dating once we got into college. And so after my college career, I went and tell people I had a cup of coffee with the Chicago Bears. I was there very briefly. And then after that, that's when I got into coaching. But I come from a sports family. My father, he played football. He coached football. And then, my mother was kind of always around it. My mom and my dad, they actually met at the University of Georgia. And so, but yeah, I have an older brother and a younger brother. My son, he's 14. And then I have a 9-year-old daughter. She's big into gymnastics and track. She really likes that. My oldest son, who's 14, he plays everything. I mean, so he goes from football to basketball to track and kind of keeps it rolling. Then I got a 4-year-old. He's rolling with the punches right now.
Keeps you rolling.
Yeah, no
Keeps
question.
Mom rolling.
No question. He's all over the place. So, but it's been great, man. We've been excited to be here, and everybody's enjoyed it. So it's just a great place to be right now.
That's awesome.
Don't want to let go of Georgia quite yet, because Georgia's in the blood, right? I mean, your dad obviously was a star for the Georgia Bulldogs, late 70s. I was just telling you, I can remember watching him on TV when I was 14 years old.
Sure.
And a great player there. Played against Oregon in '77, which I looked that up, which was pretty amazing. He scored a key touchdown at the end of the game. But
Jeez, I didn't realize.
He and your mom have a huge influence on you, don't they?
Absolutely. They've always been there, always preached a lot of the good stuff. My mom actually passed away unexpectedly at the age of 58 a couple years ago, and you fall back on a lot of the things that she taught and that my parents taught, growing up. But we're a close-knit family, and still talk. We still communicate and everything else. I tease people I tease my dad all the time. I mean, we're in a group chat together, and so getting him to text, obviously, if in the first place was that was something. And then, he kind of signs off on all this text, Dad, like I don't have his number saved in my phone. I'm like, hey man, I know it's you. But it's awesome, man. But no, man, I mean, it's the family that we have, and is special, and like I said, man, it's everybody's excited to be here and be a part of the Oregon family.
Got to talk to you about your playing days. I mean, I'm just going to read this because I can't remember all this stuff. Part of a senior class that won the most games, 44 in Georgia history, highlighted 3 SEC Eastern Division titles. And a key piece of the Bulldogs' SEC title run in 2005, the Atlanta, Georgia native hauled in 35 catches, 529 yards, but it was in a game against Georgia Tech late. Tell us about the play and what it led to.
We were actually it was in a battle. It was a battle, and to be honest with you, I wasn't playing very well that game. I really wasn't. It was a ball that got tipped that I should have caught, that I didn't catch. I actually made a mistake and took a knee. Well, I didn't take a knee. I actually slipped down on returning a kick, and I mean, it was just one of those deals. It was like, man, everything was going wrong. We were coming back to Atlanta. I grew up in Atlanta, so felt real. Felt like, oh man, it'd be great to go back and then go play well, and I'm not at this time. And so, Coach, man, thank goodness, and I played for a great guy, Mark Richt. Just a beautiful human being. And so. Those guys, they kept faith in me, and then ended up throwing me the game-winning touchdown, and I ended up catching it that week. And then the very next week, we won the SEC championship again. And so, 3 out of my 4 seasons there, we won the conference. And if they had the college football playoff during that time, we would have played in it. At least a couple of those times while we were there. But it was a good time and a good group of guys. The guys kind of just like any football team. It's the guys that make it up, and you just cherish all those moments that you have in the locker room and things like that. But shoot, man, like I said, it's special. Every team is different, and you kind of looking forward to kind of seeing where this team is going to end up going right now.
Questions we usually love to ask players when we get them face to face. We don't get them as much anymore. But first of all, why Georgia?
Sure.
You grew up in Atlanta, but Georgia's in Athens.
That's right.
And then why Oregon?
Sure.
So how about those two questions?
I tell you what. A lot of people was like, man, did you get pressure from your family to go there? And they really didn't. They really didn't. My parents, they were great soundboards for advice, but they left the decision up to me. And you went through the process. I actually thought I was going to a couple other schools throughout the recruiting process, and then once I went up there, it kind of felt like it kind of felt right for me, and that's kind of where you gotta go. You got to go to a place that feels right for you. And so regardless of it, my parents did a great job of kind of keeping them separate from it and not influencing me in one way, shape, or form. And like I said, throughout the recruiting process, you got to find out things that are going to be important to you, and if that place kind of meets those requirements, so to speak, then that's kind of what you do. And so that at that point in time, it did, and that's what it felt right to do. And so ultimately ended up being a big blessing, because I was able to get into coaching, and I wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for that. And so really just blessed to be able to go through all that stuff to kind of get here. And so and why here, which was it was really not random at all, but it kind of came from not out of nowhere, but just it wasn't kind of like, hey man, this is kind of going to be the next spot for me. I was coaching over there at another school, and I was getting a bunch of job opportunities offered to me, and I was just kind of in the mode of shooting them down. To be honest with you, I wasn't looking to go anywhere. I wasn't like I was going out there and trying to find another spot to kind of bounce to. And so I was really just kind of shooting stuff down. And to be honest with you, when Coach reached out, that was kind of my first inclination to say, hey man, thanks, but no thanks. And I didn't say that, but just to kind of be able to leave the door open. And it was, have no problem saying it. It was really as crazy as, we were sitting in church. It was my wife and I, my 14-year-old who wasn't 14 at the time, and he was sitting on one side of me, and my wife was sitting on the other side. And then it really just hit me. And I looked at my wife. I said, hey, babe, we need to take the Oregon job. And so I left church. I called Coach Cristobal, and he kind of did the scream and everything else, and then I was like, well, hey, hold on, let me handle this the right way everywhere. And so that was kind of how it started. It just kind of felt like similar to when I chose school to go to out of high school to go and play football. It just felt right. And so I'm a firm believer in a firm believer in my faith and everything else, and just felt like this where I was led to be at a point in time in my life, So, and we've been really, really enjoying it ever since.
Goosebumps! A little divine intervention right there. We're not saying that God is an Oregon Duck fan. But
that's right.
No,
not at all.
Might have had a hand in it there.
When
did your dad was a coach? When did you realize? Were you still playing, or after you quit playing, that you wanted to be a coach?
I knew I wanted to be a coach. I didn't know what level. To be honest with you, I was really interested in going back and doing stuff with the youth. And I say the youth, I mean like, early childhood type of youth. And that was what I thought. My mom was a teacher. And so I was like, hey man, I might can kind of get in that realm, and then, start coaching at in the youth league departments and stuff like that. And then, Coach Rick actually tried to get me into coaching the second I was done playing. And so so that was kind of, I was like, well, Coach, I got a chance to go do this NFL stuff. I'm going to try my hand at this a little bit. And then and he completely understand. And then once all that stuff went through, it was actually Coach Rick and then another friend of mine, dude named Mike Bobo, who's the offensive coordinator at Auburn right now. They reached out to me. It was during their season, and they said, hey, man, we're going to have a graduate assistant spot open up in January. Sure, if you want it. I said, well, count me in. Count me in. And so we actually moved there in February, and it was like the week of signing day. And then was there ever since. Was there for 9 years, man, and in a bunch of different capacities. Started out being a graduate assistant, and then I ended up having to do a lot with the receivers during that time, probably more than normal graduate assistant work does. But then was there as a running backs coach and then receivers coach, and then I wore a bunch of different hats and in the time there. And then when Coach Rick got let go, I was the interim head coach there for 2 months.
That's right.
Which that was a very eye-opening experience.
Wow.
And so after that, that's when I went from there to the University of South Carolina, and then now here.
14 years in the SEC. I mean, you've been around from your playing days, before your playing days, watching your pops play.
Sure.
You've been around some great football.
That's right. It's good football. Regardless of where it is, it kind of consists of a few different things, But I mean, just that competitive edge that you have week in and week out is something that's that was kind of special. And but I tell you what, man, I mean, you see it right now in our conference.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the parity, man. I mean, you look out there, and once you start conference play, then shoot, man, it's week in and week out that you got to do your best to bring it, And so I mean, and if you don't, then it'll show up. But because like I said, man, at the end of the day, I mean, we're talented, but everybody's got talent that we play. Those guys are on scholarship too. I tell the guys, hey man, those guys on scholarship too. They got good coaches too. We play a game this Saturday. They got really good coaches, come from the NFL and all that other stuff as well. So, I mean, it's just the parity in each conference right now. I feel like just college football in general. It's all leveling out and just kind of getting to a new place, which is good. Which is good for the game. And some of that stuff is new. Some of that stuff I don't know how good it'll be, how good it actually is for it. But it's definitely all welcomed. And I mean, you got to do your best job to make sure that you're staying in front of some stuff. But I mean, just like I said, the college football right now, man, I think just from conference to conference, the competition is just getting equal.
It's a very high level right now. He is pass game coordinator and wide receivers coach Bryan McClendon, our guest here tonight. Fun to talk about his past. We're going to get it more current and talk about the Ducks and their next opponent coming up, Colorado. That's all ahead. It's our Pepsi Coaches Spotlight inside our very specially designed studios. I won't tell you why they're specially designed. Tell you. Got to keep you hanging on here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Here's how Duck fans take flight with OCCU. Start with a Lucky Duck savings account. Move up to a Duck debit card with free checking. Then graduate to a Duck credit card. OCCU makes your financial journey easier with fewer fees, higher rates on savings, and lower rates on loans. Discover the OCCU difference at myoccu.org/Go Ducks.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to our Pepsi Coaches Spotlight. Jerry Allen and Jorgie in our Country Financial Studios, and our guest coach tonight, Bryan McClendon, is fun to talk with. It's always, I mean, I just love talking to all of our coaches because they've all got such great personalities. Sure. And, you're communicating with kids on a daily basis, and if you can't communicate, you can't coach. So you're great communicators. But you're talking about a season now where this team has faced some unbelievable adversity.
Sure.
And all teams have injuries and situations. But what's it like for a coach when you're looking at that next man up and going, okay, I got to bring this kid up mentally because he hasn't been a starter. Maybe he was in a 3 deep. Now all of a sudden he's in a key role.
That's right.
That's the part of coaching that people don't think about.
Yeah, and that is the importance of making sure every day is every day, if that makes any sense. I mean, so what you try to do is make game day as similar to every day that you go out there on the field as you possibly can. Right, and so there are things and there are factors, obviously, man, that go into that make that a little bit difficult at times.
Sure.
But if you give them some things that kind of can focus on that are so small that they don't have the ability to be able to look at kind of the broader strokes or who's there and everything else, and so that was something that I knew helped me as a player. If I'm thinking about, hey, man, my technique, hey, man, my toe needs to be right here, or my inside leg needs to be right here, or my hat position needs to be right here, I don't have time to be thinking about some of the other things. So it's constantly making sure that their focus is so small that it's hard to kind of lose it by looking at some of the bigger things that can kind of do it. But it is, man. I mean, it's similar to, and obviously we're not the only team that's going through it. And so, I mean, like I said, I feel like that's kind of some things that's kind of come along with college football in general. But shoot, man, it is. It's like, hey, man, you look up and you're like, oh, really? You know, okay, all right, man. Now this guy has to go there, and it's a complete. I think we need to attribute it one to Coach Cristobal and everything that he set forth as far as the program goes, and then two, I mean, these kids need all the credit in the world. They need all the credit in the world. I mean, just to be able to block out some of the stuff. I mean, from everything from losing guys to losing coaches, on game day, you know what I mean? To have to kind of go and have to kind of push through different things and not get fazed by that quite frankly, there's some 50-year-old men that couldn't block out some of that things, And so, like I said, I mean, it's kind of, it's what comes with it, but you just got to go out there and you got to kind of look at everything else in the face and say, all right, man, where do we go from here? And just and everybody have faith in everybody that we're all doing the same thing.
Yeah. You got a wide variety of guys at your position that you coach. 5'9", 6'5",
right.
170, 215.
That's
I mean,
right.
whatever it might be, and a really talented group. I also hear you talk about production
That's right.
versus talent.
Sure.
And you guys basically track production stats during
Sure.
the practices. Talk about what those production stats are.
Well,
some of them are.
Sure. And it's mainly more towards training camps and things like that. But every practice gets graded. Every practice gets graded. Every game gets graded. And so you look at everybody from a technique standpoint, an effort standpoint, and then an assignment standpoint. And so you kind of go through those things and say, okay, all right, man, and you can kind of tally up, okay, hey, man, this guy is doing a good job with his technique, or this guy, hey, man, he's doing a really good job on everything. His technique is slipping, and you might can look and say, hey, man, on this play, he's just not getting it, And so it helps you as a coach be able to support those guys at their very, very best as well. That's really the genesis of being able to do that. And so also, man, it does give you a real live look at, hey, man, who's being more productive at whatever position it might be. And so, I mean, it's twofold in those things. And so those guys, man, they to be honest with you, they're caught up in it too. Hey, man, look, hey, coach, no, man, you cheated me on the yard right here. And so, but it's just another tool to help teach. To be honest with you, it really is, and to help. Be as a coach, it helps you support those guys to make sure that, hey, man, look, all right, 2 or 3 guys are kind of messing up on this play. I need to do a better job of explaining this as a teacher, all right, to make sure that these guys get it. So it's really cross-referencing and checking on both ends. I mean, how well you're receiving it and how well things are being taught, and then you can kind of use it to go from there.
Gosh, we don't have a whole lot of time left. I got so many questions. You're nationally recognized as one of the best recruiters in college football.
Sure.
Today, maybe more than 10, 15, 25, 30 years ago, recruiting the key to success for successful teams, and you do that. How do you do that?
Well, recruiting, it's about relationships, The one thing I tell people, man, is listen, all right, I'm going to be as real as I possibly can, and I'm going to be me. I'm not going to show you somebody through the recruiting process that you're not going to see every single day when you're up here. And so I'll be the first to tell you, and I'm honest and I'm upfront. But the biggest thing is about building relationships, not just with them, but just with the people who are important in their lives too. Yeah. And so, I mean, it doesn't matter how important you might think they are. If they're important to them, then they're important. And so, so just making sure that you're treating everybody as such. But I think a lot of it, man, really just comes down to you just being as genuine as you possibly can, being as real as you possibly can. And like you said, man, what you don't want to do is not a show. You know, it's not a show. It's really going out there and working to build a relationship with somebody. And relationships take work. Just like anything else, just like a marriage, just like being a parent, just like being a coach. I mean, just relationships take work. So you have to do a good job of working at that relationship and doing a good job of communicating and being upfront. And then I think that's when good things happen. Just throughout the whole country, man. When recruiting goes sour, man, it's normally one of those things just not being done very well. You know what I mean? Somebody's not communicating very well, or somebody's probably not saying some things that might be true on one side or another. So, that's kind of all you can do, and just try to do a good job at it.
Well, you obviously are and have been, and that's why I've been recognized. And your personality alone, just on the few minutes we get a chance to talk with you, I can understand how real you are. Jorgie, I know you got at least one more question, and I got a final question I'm going to hit with.
Okay. Yeah, Coach. Well, you got some really good freshmen, obviously.
Sure.
And again, I want to use the word talented. You're going to make them
Sure.
productive over time.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's right. What's the biggest challenge for guys like Dante Thornton and Franklin to be able to go from high school to college in that big adjustment that they have to make?
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden, here we are in Columbus, Ohio,
Sure.
playing in a football game. What are some of the biggest challenges for freshmen?
Well, the biggest thing I feel like for freshmen is, one, just understanding that they have to be at their very, very best every single day, regardless. Okay, they're going from where they got to be at their best, and hey, man, they might step on the field and it might be 3, 4, maybe 5 guys that are as talented as them. Where now they're coming up here and then they're stepping on the field where there are 22 Division I football players on the field at a time. And that's every day. That's every single day. And so what they have to do is just understand that, hey, man, it takes everything that I have all the time. And so a lot of kids don't come into college naturally doing that. And so that is, I feel like, the biggest adjustment, because if you go down there, every freshman can come on the field and then be a superstar one play. So now you got to do it the next play, and then the next play, and then the next play. You got to do it all day long. And then the next day you got to come out there and you got to do it all over again. And then the next day you got to come out there and do it all over again. So that is what I feel like the biggest adjustment is. And then speaking of just for those guys in particular, you got 2 guys that they didn't, because of COVID, they hadn't played since they were juniors in high school.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
so
right.
they missed their senior year. And then, their very next time of playing football, they go from being a high school junior to a college freshman. So
Big jump.
it's a even bigger jump for those guys, and they're not the only ones, but, that's a big adjustment, let alone, adding an additional year on to that stuff. So, but that, for those guys to be able to come in there and play and everything else, man, that shows how special those guys can be. And, man, they got a bright future. Those, those guys, not just him, but, not just those 2, but Isaiah Brevard, the other freshman that we brought in, man, those guys got a bright future. So, it should be exciting, man, here in years to come.
We could talk to you all night long. I just love talking with you. We got to have you on again. I got one final question I was going to ask you, but we're out of time. But I'll just throw it at you anyway, and you don't have to answer it. Oregon, hypothetically, faces Georgia in the national championship game. Do you have to recuse yourself and not be?
No, absolutely not. It's Oregon all day long.
All right.
All day long,
Yeah.
without any questions or thinking twice about it.
Just a hypothetical
No,
question.
We want to be there.
No
We want
doubt,
it to be there.
no
All
doubt,
right.
no doubt.
Brian McClendon, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate your time.
thank you,
and you've
guys.
been wonderful, and we'll get you back here again.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, we're going to take the break. Joey's got players for you here from when we come back on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Harley Quinn and a collection of cons are on a search and destroy mission in the Suicide Squad. Now available at Redbox. Intelligence Officer Amanda Waller enlists the most dangerous imprisoned supervillains in the world to carry out a dangerous task in exchange for lighter sentences. Bloodsport, Peacemaker, King Shark, Harley Quinn, and others trek through the dangerous jungle to help save the world from the apocalypse. One wrong move and they're dead, whether at the hands of their opponents, a teammate, or Waller herself. Watch the Suicide Squad and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Ducks football lives here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the show. You have to push the button. You just don't laugh at me, okay? You do this every single day in your sleep, all right?
Do you hear the returning from commercial music in your sleep? Because I do.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not quite there. No, not anymore. No, I used to. I was doing baseball, but no. Hey, let's hurry up and get into some players because we got some great cuts from guys who played a great game last week.
God, how do I follow Coach McClendon though?
Yeah, not easy.
This is a hot seat right now. All right, let's go. Start with looking back. Travis Dye. Look, there were some awesome alumni, including his brother Troy Dye, that were at this UCLA game. I want to start there because he got to play in front of some family. It's a special day for Travis Dye this past week.
Right, it means everything. You know, when growing up, my older brother played for UCLA, and so it was surreal just coming back, you know, to the Rose Bowl in the UCLA setting. You know, just 10 years ago I was there and my big brother was playing. You know, just after all that time, and you know, I'm playing there against UCLA, and to get the win, it's special. It's very special.
You know, we had a comment on Duck Insider today, and that was, man, when there's no Dye on the Oregon football roster, it's like going to be a sad day for the end of the Dye era. Just hearing him talk about memories like that with his brother in attendance, some awesome pictures of those two, it was like, man, this is, you know, that is going to be the end of an era. God. And you know what? He almost didn't even get the chance to play. He actually had a migraine pregame, and we asked Ryan Walk about that.
Well, he's so tough, I didn't even know. I think most of the team had no idea. You know, he's not willing to tell people that, you know, he's just – he has a migraine, and it's just another day at the ballpark for him, you know. So he just goes out and does his thing, breaks NCAA records, scores 4 touchdowns, you know, and is what it is. And so Trav's as tough as they come, and, you know, we love having him on our team.
Yeah, so that 4 straight carries with a touchdown is an NCAA record. He didn't exactly fill up the stat sheet in terms of total yards and yards per carry, but who cares? Got in the end zone 4 times for Travis Dye. Pretty impressive. And Ryan Walk there talking about, hey, they had to deal with some stuff too. He got tapped on the shoulder. You're going to play center. They thought Alex Forsythe was going to be able to go. Now he's day-to-day dealing with a back issue. Versatility, Ryan Walk, it's been important.
Yeah, I mean, I think before the season, I think I said in the interview, I think we got 8 or 9 guys that we can win a game with, and, you know, that's kind of come to fruition, you know, whether we wanted it to or not. You know, that's kind of the reality of the game of football is you're going to have guys that need to step up in certain situations, and we've had guys do that, and they've done a really good job. So, you know, you just got to have guys keep preparing to be ready to play on every Saturday because you never know what's going to happen.
The guy that epitomizes versatility in recent memory has been Calvin Throckmorton. Dawson Jaramillo is the latest in the long line of Swiss Army knives on the offensive line for the Ducks. He says that he credits Calvin Throckmorton for what he's doing now.
Calvin Throckmorton, I mean, he played last night for the New Orleans Saints against the Seahawks in Monday Night Football, and he played left guard. I mean, he played right tackle for us, and he played right guard, and he played left guard, and he played center even. So even, I've been looking up to a guy like that the last couple of years to see how he prepared, how he practiced, and he was able to play any position that the coaches asked him to play. And so I'm trying to emulate him and be ready if I need to be.
That's a good guy to follow, huh? Especially playing in the NFL. Now, you talk about these guys and the way that they try to move all as one. Well, it's easier to move all as one when you've actually moved together as one in practice. There was a group out there that never did that.
That five that was out there took 0 reps together in that order throughout the game week. So, at the end of the day, you got to go out and be a football player. And, that's what the 5 of us did. And, at the end of the day, it's offensive line play. And so we went out there and we just tried to execute to the best of our ability. And I think we did a pretty good job on Saturday.
Shout out to Alex Mirabal and the entire Oregon offensive line, because
it's incredible.
That's odd.
Think about that.
Yeah, they never practiced in that orientation on the offensive line together, and they went out and they were football players. That's what you like to hear. The reason that they were able to do that, Dawson Jaramillo talked a little bit about what the mental repetition is like for the offensive linemen.
So even in practice, for example, like if you're standing on the sideline, if you're in the 2 deep, or even your 1s and the 2s are going, looking at the signal, seeing what play we're going to run, and then when you look out on the field, seeing what the front is, and just kind of anticipating, running the play in your head before they do it on the field. And that happens in the game too. I'm always kind of hanging around, watching the signal, looking out at the field and kind of seeing what's happening, so that it's not new. It's not the first time I see it when I go out there and have to play.
The offensive line would tell you they are the smartest men on the field, and to be honest with you, I think they are. It used to be easy to say that because Calvin Throckmorton's actually going to be a doctor. That's why we called him Doc Throck. But I think that the offensive line, just hearing some of that, yeah, guys, that is one of the smartest groups out there.
No doubt.
Travis Dye, he was asked a little bit about Ryan Walk, what it was like stepping in for Alex Forsythe.
Yeah, the crystal ball told him day of the game, you're going in, you're starting at center. And, center is a really hard position. That's not an easy position. You have to make the calls. You have to be confident with your calls. You have to ID guys, all that. It was like Alex never even left. Ryan stepped up so huge. And he's such a smart, great, hard-nosed player, and we're just super lucky to have him.
That's awesome to hear that. And Travis Dye talking about a guy who's developed in production versus talent, like Coach McClendon was saying. The production has also been there in his pass blocking. I thought it was interesting hearing him talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's all about the technique. Half the battle is, having heart and just, putting yourself in there, but the other half is technique, keeping your base, shooting the hands, all that good stuff. Just working on it every single day, really, with Coach Mastro, with the other running backs, with linebackers, just always working on my pass protection, just working on my weaknesses. And before I saw that as a weakness, and I, try to grasp onto it and try to lean into it, see if I can get better at it.
Coaches say that the biggest progression that a running back has to make from high school to college is the pass blocking, and now throughout his college career, Travis Dye's gotten a lot better at it. Led to a couple big Anthony Brown completions. This week he was talking about how he keeps that mental focus, avoids distractions.
I would say just controlling what I can control. And the same thing goes for my teammates. We all just focus on what we need to focus on, whether it's practice, film study, extra work, whatever the case may be. Just taking everything in and being 1-0 at every rep, everything we do. So that's really that.
Impressive stuff from Anthony Brown this past week, we know that. And a big reason why is maybe the last couple weeks, guys, he has found his go-to receiver. He talked a little bit about Devin Williams and what has led to his production lately.
He's been very good in practice, great teammate. He's a really good leader. And he's just been playing really hard in practice. He's been doing his things. He's been paying attention, very good with attention to detail.
One thing of note, too, with the wide receivers, they're playing very physical. Micah Pittman was talking about that this week. Now, remember back to last week when Jalen Redd says that he likes to put his face into guys. That's when he knows that he's done something right when he's blocking. Micah Pittman said something similar, talking about his physicality playing the receiver position.
Yeah, I worked on being more physical. I'm starting to really get into guys' heads and really, get really physical and moving them. Moving another man from where he wants to be is kind of like just asserting your dominance, and it's actually something that I've actually grown to like a lot, actually. being physical and being able to, pancake somebody and put them on their back. I think that's something that I improved on as the season's been going, and I've just been working on my physicality most of the part. I am a bigger guy that can take bigger hits, and so I need to use that, and so that's what I've been doing.
I think that's a shout-out to Coach McClendon as well. And finally, before we go to the defense next, Coach McClendon was here just a little while ago. Micah Pittman was talking about what kind of coach Coach McClendon is.
Like, for example, if I go for a ball and I catch it and I fall down and I don't get in the end zone, he's always trying to coach it up and figure out why I didn't score and stuff. So he's very critiqueful, like I said. He's an awesome coach. And like I said, improving my physicality, I guess maybe is helping me be out there more. But I don't know. I believe I'm one of the best receivers out there in the nation, period. And that's how I have to believe in myself, and so, yeah.
Holding himself to a high standard, and that's where that talent can turn into production, as Coach McClendon talked about. From the defense coming up next, Jerry.
I love that line, moving another man from where he wants to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much definitive of what that job is. All right, more players coming up with Joey Mac when we talk with more Coaches Show stuff here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Well, Bob, I don't like Hunger's chances here, not against this feast of an IHOP defensive line.
That's right, Jim. They got burgers, chicken sandwiches, french fries, bacon, and condiments as far as the eye can see.
Heck of a lineup, Bob. They've been slaying Hunger in the backfield this whole season. Makes you wonder how Hunger finds the courage to get back out there.
Empty tummy, 42 pancakes. The blitz is on, and Hunger is demolished once again.
It never stood a chance, Bob.
Tackle your hunger with IHOP's Game Day Family Feasts.
You're listening to the Oregon Football Coaches Show. Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy.
What's your name?
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Coaches Show. Jerry Allen, Jorgie, and Joey Mac. The players not only play the game, they talk the game. It's fun listening to these guys, Joey, talk about their aspects of the game on the field.
No doubt about it. And, you mentioned earlier that Verone McKinley is maybe one of the bigger fans of the guys in that front for Oregon's defense. Well, Verone McKinley's talking about a little bit about Popo and Brandon Dorless this week.
Those two allow for KT to get those one-on-ones, because you have to account for them, and they're able to take on two guys and still be able to fill gaps or cause the quarterback to step somewhere, and that's where KT makes some of those plays. So they're super, super, super impactful. And of course, playing D-line, sometimes you don't see everything, but even in the film room, we're just like, wow, that's crazy. I've seen Dorless take on three guys, get them all off of them, and maybe Noah made the tackle, or Popo just striking guys and getting them off of them. So it's huge.
That's what you love to see, right? Those guys have just really plugged holes, and Popo was talking about that this week. What's your role, Popo?
For me, it's just, realizing if I'm taking up two people, then that frees up someone else. And it's just doing my 111th, whatever that may be, whether it's taking two gaps or shedding it and making the play or having Noah or someone else fill it. We all work together. It's just do your 111th and, flock to the ball, and that's what we do is everybody runs the ball. So I know if I'm filling that gap, then there's 10 other guys that should be there. So
And sometimes, like guys, Kayvon Thibodeau, that's what they were talking about, right? That you're freeing up other guys to make plays by doing your job. You're going to love this, Jerry. Brandon Dorless, just talking about Popo.
Describe just Popo's impact.
Popo? Man, that's big nasty right there, man. Popo going to do everything. Take on double teams and do all the nasty work.
Is Big Nasty an official nickname for him?
Oh, nah. Nah. That's just something I call him because, you know, we play D-line, a real nasty position. Like, no one really, like, see what we do, but, like, we're a real problem on the field. Yeah.
So Popo is now Big Nasty on every broadcast moving forward.
Holy
Thanks to Brandon Dorless. You got to love that. And finally, you know, you're going to love this too. Popo is talking a little bit about just what practice is like and the importance of it. You're going to like the ending.
Just like I said, just the constant reps every day, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then Thursdays and Fridays where we go kind of slow everything down and not in pads. You go from full speed, physical, and then Thursday just focus on fundamentals and slow. And I think that's where a lot of things come into play is we just slow everything down right before, and then Saturday comes this motion like poetry. So
it's like poetry. Here's to a nice poetic game on Saturday, Jerry.
Wait a second. So we just went from big uglies to poetry? How does that happen?
They are men of a wide-ranging artistic spectrum, Jerry. Jorgie. I'm telling you.
I thought Verone McKinley said it best. As great as KT is, he's not great unless the other 10 men do their job.
That's right.
Isn't that?
Do 1/11th of your job.
Team football.
I did a third of my job.
It was a very small third. Kind of like wet rain. Okay, let's take the break and come back and wrap up this show from our Country Financial studios on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Where were you, Jill? We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the show. Joey Mac's got one final player comment for us.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, guys. This week, Dawson Jaramillo was asked what the 1-0 mentality means to him. And to borrow a phrase from our good friend Big Nasty, it was poetic.
I mean, I think it really can be boiled down to anything you're doing in any moment, just take it 1-0. So, like, you know, when I wake up in the morning, you know, when I'm preparing my body for practice and when I'm eating, I'm 1-0 when I'm eating, I'm 1-0 when I'm stretching. I'm 1-0 when I'm in the meeting room and trying to take down notes. You know, I'm 1-0 in pre-practice, 1-0 during the walkthrough. Just like, you know, if you can dominate every moment of your day, then it's easy to go 1-0 on the day. But if you try to look at it as I want to be 1-0 at the day, then it can get lost in all the different things. But you try to go 1-0 in every moment, then it
Dawson Jaramillo has become one of my favorite players.
Right?
Wow. Maybe the hair. I don't know, but
Well, the hairs helps, but I mean, guys, just that mentality,
attitude,
right?
yeah,
That
no
idea,
doubt.
you know. Seriously, I thought that it was like poetry. He was talking about 1-0. He could have written, like in high school, I bet you he could have written a poem 1-0 and he would have gotten an A.
Oh, you would have given him an A. There's no doubt about that.
100%.
You just try to go 1-0 with breakfast every morning, don't you? Is that kind of 1-0 with my eggs?
If I get through breakfast, I'm a
1-0 with my
winner.
pancakes.
All right, I'm a
12:30 kickoff?
12:30? That means 10:30 pregame show.
10:30 pregame.
All right, here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks to our coach. And just thanks to you for being a part of this. See you on Saturday.
This has been the Oregon Football Coaches Show on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Country Financial Insurance. Protect what matters. And by Pepsi and Bigfoot Beverages. Go Ducks. Drink Pepsi. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.